Hello again. Here's something for you to think about. You know your hard-working members of Congress, you know the ones that don't do anything because they never read the bills before they sign them. Otherwise you wouldn't have had Nancy Pelosi say what she said. We've got to sign this Obamacare bill so we can learn what's in it. Now, how many of you have jobs that are a fair distance away from where you have to go to work? Let me tell you how Congress handles that. Since representatives return back to their home state pretty much every weekend, they travel on Fridays and they travel on Mondays. So if they travel on Fridays and they travel on Mondays, for those few days that they are supposedly in session, that leaves them Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Now, if you were to break down how much money they get paid for the few hours that they work, it's mind-boggling. Yeah, so how many of you have similar kinds of jobs where you really only are expected to be in session 3 days a week for the few weeks out of the year that you're expected to be in session? The rest of the time, well, the rest of the time you're campaigning. And if it's going to be near an election, you're out there campaigning and you're searching for donations so you can continue living the luxurious lifestyle of the elitists. It's completely and totally insane. People that live in Washington that are also members of Congress, or people that live close to Washington, let's say they're in Virginia, let's say they're even in New York. It isn't that difficult to get from New York to the Capitol, yet they're not expected to arrive to be in session until Tuesday. And Thursday night, well, it's hasta la vista. Let's get out of here, huh? Go back and spend time with the kiddies, for those that have kiddies. It's an unbelievably beautiful job. It has mind-boggling benefits. Never mind the power that people have in Senate and in the Congress. You know, it's amazing. If you take a look at individuals like Sheila Lee Jackson, you have to scratch your head. How can someone this incompetent continue to be elected to represent their constituents? Well, what it says is that their constituents are dumber than they are. Otherwise, they wouldn't keep re-electing them, would they? The same pretty much applies for individuals like lame brain Johnny McCain, who has fooled the American people ever since he returned from Vietnam as a war hero. You ever wonder why all of the testimonies of POWs have been sealed? You might want to look into that. I sort of have a clue as to why that is, which is why Senator Johnny McCain is referred to as the songbird of the Hanoi Hilton. I've made in excess of 85 videos on the songbird alone. But this isn't about the songbird. This is about the congressional representatives that we continue to re-elect. Look up Congressman Hank Johnson. He's another piece of work. Yeah, he was concerned that the island of Guam would tip over based on the buildup of American forces. This is a lawmaker. Sheila Lee Jackson is a lawmaker. Can you sort of get the picture as to why so many laws are screwed up? You know, I suggested that you ask your congressional representative to submit 3 separate bills for consideration. The first one, I believe, was that one that dealt with term limits. And the second one was one that dealt with having them all mandatorily drug tested, including the president. And the third one was to make certain that they had a clue as to what was within a bill before they were allowed to vote on the bill. I got a couple more. Another bill that should be proposed would be to make certain that at a certain age they're evaluated by psychiatrists and psychologists, just to make certain that their cheese hasn't slid off their crackers like it has for, I believe, Senator John McCain and for Nancy Pelosi. She can't be normal with the hands doing one of these and the eyes rolling in her head, you know. It's not normal. Yeah, those two should be added to the list of proposed bills. Another one you can throw into the hat is at a certain age, they have to leave. Could be 70, 72. Do we need people on our Supreme Court that have a real difficult time staying awake? Like Ruth Ginsburg? I'm inclined to think not. But that's a whole different story. So, I've given you a couple of additional bills that you might want to propose to your congressional representative. If nothing else, it'll be entertaining to see what kind of responses, if any, that you receive. And if a number of people within a certain district request their representatives to consider those bills, you might find that you're going to be receiving the same kind of form letter back. The only difference would be the name and the address of the recipient. I know I've done it with the senator from Arizona. In either case, it definitely is entertaining when you consider how little they do in our Congress. Well, actually, they've done nothing over the past number of years that the chosen one's been in power that have benefited anyone, except those that Obama wants to benefit, like the illegal aliens. But that's a different story. Let me know what you think. I sort of told you what I think in regard to those other proposed bills. If you have any other ideas... Oh, I know. One of my viewers, and this isn't a bad idea, suggested that all members of Congress are required to wear uniforms. I mean, when you think about it, when you see a policeman, you know he's a policeman, unless he's the detective, because the policemen are all wearing uniforms. You can distinguish our military. You can tell the difference between our Air Force and our military, our Army soldiers. You can tell Marines based on their uniforms. Now, one of the advantages in being able to distinguish and to determine our congressional representatives is by the company that they keep. You know, if they're schmoozing with lobbyists, it becomes much more obvious if he or she is in a recognizable uniform. I thought that was a great idea. That might be another one that you might want to propose instead of all the useless bills that they pass, none of which serve you, the American people. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. I shared mine.